Oh, how's it going, everybody? So, we're back for another edition of All In, where I'll pick a rock artist, I'll listen to the entire discography, and give my thoughts on it. And the rules go kind of like this. The band in question must have 5 or more original albums. Cover albums can count. I generally don't talk about the live or acoustic albums unless most of the tracks are original to the form. So here we go. So I said last week we're going to do something a little bit more modern, so here we go. We feature Five Finger Death Punch. And kind of the most modern one we've featured so far in this series. So, how did I get into Five Finger Death Punch? Well, kind of a little more modern story, like I said. I first heard them on Sirius XM before they were even popular on the mainstream. And I forget if it was Faction or Heart Attack, one of those two channels. They were playing The Way of the Fist, which was the title track off of this disc. And it's a real heavy track. I mean, way heavier than what you might be used to on their newer stuff. But it's crazy. They released this album, in 2007, and they did a reissue in '08. So, like, most of the singles off of this album are on the reissue. But getting back to the entire discography, they did release a total of 9 albums spanning from The Way of the Fist in '07 all the way to 2 years ago in 2022 with Afterlife. But as far as The Way of the Fist goes, it's definitely a lot more hardcore metal. So, in the song lineup, we start off with the song Ashes, and then of course we move on to the title track, The Way of the Fist. Then we do Salvation, and then the most popular song to this point, The Bleeding, which that definitely got a lot of airplay. I think that was their breakout song right there. That's the song that brought them, I would say, like, mainstream to, like, regular radio exposure. Then you have A Place to Be, The Devil's Own, White Knuckles, Can't Heal You, Death Before Dishonor, and Meet the Monster. And then we move on to the 2008 reissue. That's when they got even more exposure. So here, with the bonus tracks, you have Never Enough and Stranger Than Fiction. Both fairly popular songs as far as mainstream rock goes. And then they end it with The Bleeding, an acoustic version of The Bleeding, which was pretty good. And of course, if you want to go the Iron Fist edition, then there was also A New Level, which was a Pantera cover that came with that. But all in all, this is kind of like more of like a raw metal than anything. I feel like I kind of got gypped on this because I bought the earlier copy that did not come with Never Enough and Stranger Than Fiction. But I did eventually get those bonus tracks on download, so it's all good. But yeah, not a bad way to start. And then 2 years later, we move on to 2009's War Is the Answer. This is where I started downloading stuff strictly here. So here we start off with A Dying Breed, Hard to See, Bulletproof, No One Gets Left Behind. That's a good one. Crossing Over, Burn It Down, Far From Home, which was real popular. Falling in Hate, My Own Hell, Walk Away, which was another good one. Canto 34, which is instrumental. And then they did a cover of Bad Company by Bad Company, and they end it with War Is the Answer. And then the bonus track Succubus, that's a damn good one too. So honestly, so far I like War Is the Answer better than The Way of the Fist. Like, a good solid album, I never hated a song on it. So then we move on, 2 years later after that, 2011, we get American Capitalist. So, what do we got here? Of course, the title track, American Capitalist. Under and Over It, The Pride, Coming Down, which, yeah, Under and Over It and The Pride, they were decently popular songs. There's Coming Down, The Menace, Menace, Generation Dead, Back for More, Remember Everything, Wicked Ways, If I Fall, 100 Ways to Hate, and if you go bonus track, The Tragic Truth. And then, let's see, 2013 we get 2 releases, not 1, but 2. So here we go with the 2-part albums again. So, The Wrong Side of Heaven and The Righteous Side of Hell, Volume 1, that dropped on July 30th of 2013. So here we get the famous song with Rob Halford guesting, Lift Me Up. Damn good tune. You got Watch You Bleed, You, Wrong Side of Heaven, which was pretty popular. Then you got Burn MF, or Burn Motherfucker, I'm Sin, Anywhere But Here, featuring Mary Brink in this moment. Let's see, Dot Your Eyes, Mine End This Way, Mama Said Knock You Out. And I didn't know that was an LL Cool J cover. Interesting. You got Diary of a Dead Man. And then when we get into the bonuses, let's see. I Am Sin featuring Max of Soulfly. So those are just like remixes and stuff on the bonuses. Oh, they did, well, for the 10th anniversary, they did Burn Motherfucker with Rob Zombie. And then they did a bunch of live stuff after that. So, okay, so here we move on to Volume 2 of The Wrong Side of Heaven and The Righteous Side of Hell. So, here they release this edition of it in November 19th of 2013. So, in this set, we start off with Here to Die, Wait Beneath My Sin, Wrecking Ball, Battleborn, Cradle to the Grave, Mastered Time, The Agony of Regret, Interlude, Cold, Let This Go, My Heart Lied, and Day in My Life, and they end with the cover, House of the Rising Sun by the Animals. So then, let's see, in 2015 we have Got Your Six. So of course we start with the title track. We got Jekyll and Hyde, Wash It All Away, both real popular. Ain't My Last Dance, My Nemesis, No Sudden Movement, Question Everything, Hell to Pay, Digging My Own Grave, Meet the Maker, Roots and Blood. And then when we get into the bonus tracks, we have You're Not My Kind, This Is My War, and I Apologize. So all in all, so far a pretty good discography. My real complaint about them is, instead, like, when you take when you take the Way of the Fist away, it almost sounds the same. You know what I mean? That's kind of my one complaint about them. But I mean, it's not bad either. So 2018, we have And Justice for None. So we start with Fake, Top of the World, Shame Plain. We have Blue on Black, which is a Kenny Wayne Shepherd cover. Fire in the Hole, I Refuse, It Doesn't Matter, One Season Change. Stuck in My Ways, Rock Bottom, and Gone Away, which was an Offspring cover. It was originally on the Decade of Destruction CD, it was like a greatest hits compilation they did there. Then we have Bloody and Will a Son Ever Rise. And then what else do they got? They got bonuses here too. I guess like another version of Trouble. Oh no, Trouble. Yeah, Trouble was on the Decade of Destruction too. You know how it is when they do like a greatest hits compilation, they'll do a couple new songs for it, but in this case what they did is they released two of these tracks a year earlier in 07, and then when they released this album in 07? I meant to say 17. They released Decade of Destruction in 17, and then when this came out in 18, they put those two tracks on this album. So I guess kind of like a little preview to what's about to come. So then, we move on to the 2020s. They release Fate. It's spelled F8. So here we have the Fate intro, Inside Out, Full Circle, Living the Dream, A Little Bit Off, Bottom of the Cup, Be Alone, Mother May I, Darkness Settles In, This Is War, Leave It All Behind, which that's not a bad one. Scar Tissue, no, it's not a cover of Red Hot Chili Peppers either. Brighter Side of the Gray, and then let's see, we go bonus tracks, Making Monsters, Death Punch Therapy, and then they got the radio edit of Inside Out. And here again, I feel like it sounds the same as the other albums. And then we come to 2 years ago, Afterlife from 2022. So here we have Welcome to the Circus, Afterlife, which was the single to this one, the breakout to this one. Times Like These, Roll Them Bones, Pick Up Behind You, Judgment Day, I Owe You, Thanks for Asking, Blood and Tar, All I Know, Gold Gutter, that's a weird title, and then The End. And then if you go bonus, they did a song called This Is the Way, which they teamed up with DMX on this one, which turned out pretty good. As far as like other experiences listening to Five Finger Death Punch, I did get to see them live a couple times. I got to see them. It was at the Rug Allegiance tour, the Rug Allegiance show in Chester, PA. They were in amongst like Korn and Godsmack and lots of bands that day. And then I got to see them again in Hershey when it was weird. Like, Ivan was in rehab. I forget who the lead singer was that they replaced him with in that show, but it wasn't as good as, like, having Ivan there. But might be worth noting that Ivan used to be in a band called Motograder back in, like, the early 2000s. I think it was, like, 2003 they released an album. The Motograder released an album. This is kind of like in the nu metal era. Like, so Ivan was a little piece of nu metal history before this came out. So, and it sounds way different than Five Finger Death Punch. I think Motograder themselves have had 2 albums out, but they only released one with Ivan, and then there was another one more recently since Ivan came over here to Five Finger Death Punch. But, I mean, all in all, not too bad. So, how do I rank them? Like, what's my favorite, what's my least favorite? Well, I really can't break it off in the decades too much because they predominantly were the 2010s, really. So you had a couple in the 2000s, you know, starting in 07. You had a couple in the 2020s. I'm just going to do it as, like, one big era. Why not? So, I would say War's the Answer would probably be my favorite one. Loved every track on it. Never got sick of it. The Way of the Fist, it was a little heavy, a little raw. I don't know, though. I mean, The Way of the Fist could be like a close second to that. Especially when you add in, like, the bonus cuts. Like I said, I feel like I got gypped when I bought the original of this album. But it's the only one I got on physical. All the others are on download. But as far as what's my least favorite, I don't know. I'd have to say Fate. But, I mean, all in all, I mean, Five Finger Death Punch, they're not too bad. I mean, I do recommend seeing them live, though. They are pretty good live. I always feel like, you know, hard rock as a whole is kind of like, it's not as popular anymore. I feel like Five Finger Death Punch is like the last popular mainstream rock band out there. Like, I can't think of any other band out there that's, you know, like less than 20 years old that has put out this much material. Like, it's impressive how many albums they actually put out in this short amount of time. And, I mean, are they going to record something in 2025? I don't know. We'll have to find out. But as far as what's coming up next, we're going to step back into the 80s. This is going to be a band that they were early to the party. They've been at the party the whole time. And they've been at the hangover. And they're still around today. So, tune in next time. Find out what it is.